Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today at the Trade Committee on this important motion to support our allies in Ukraine in their fight for freedom, fight for victory, by undertaking to allow amendments to this bill that would support the expansion of munitions exports to Ukraine. I think when it comes to the discussion of Ukraine, we do see a lot of instances of what has come to be called performative allyship, people wanting to show that they're on Ukraine's side, but not actually focusing on the things that Ukraine really needs most. Ukrainians are not asking for a carbon tax. Ukrainians are asking for weapons. Ukraine needs to win this war, and that means they need the munitions, the equipment that in many cases Canada could make available in order to allow them to secure victory. There is nothing currently in Bill C-57 that deals with munitions exports. Conservatives are preparing substantial, serious amendments to this legislation that would make the sale of vital munitions to Ukraine much easier, that would have a concrete impact in terms of helping the Ukrainian people win this war. Again, we need to put aside the performative allyship and focus instead on the things that Ukraine really needs, which is weapons, which is munitions, which is the material that will concretely allow them to achieve victory as soon as possible. I would like to see the same review standards for arms exports apply to Ukraine as apply to our existing NATO partners. That is currently not the case. There are different review standards subject to so-called open policy countries, easier review standards than apply to Ukraine. We should be applying as little red tape as possible to munitions exports to Ukraine so that weapons get there as quickly as possible. We can be supplying surplus military equipment here in Canada that we're not using to Ukraine, and in the process use that as an opportunity to modernize our own equipment. We should be encouraging EDC and BDC to support efforts by Canadian defence manufacturers to partner with Ukraine's defence industry, and we should be making long-term commitments to defence productions that will allow us to develop the munitions here that are vital for our own security, but also will allow us to support Ukraine. Let's focus on victory for Ukraine. Victory for Ukraine means weapons. It means munitions. It means helping Ukraine get the equipment that it needs. This motion would allow us to expand the scope of amendments that can be made to C-57 so we can actually include that critical content around munitions development and munitions exports to help Ukraine win the war. This is what really matters for Ukraine. This is where the rubber hits the road. And this will be an important test if the committee is prepared to actually focus on meeting Ukraine's needs instead of simply using a trade deal to talk about the carbon tax. Let's focus on what Ukraine really needs, which is urgently getting munitions in the hands of the Ukrainian people so that they can effectively continue to defend themselves. Thank you.
I'm going to read this out so we make sure that it's clearly understood. That the committee recommends to the House that it be granted the power during its consideration of Bill C-57, an act to implement the 2023 Free Trade Agreement between Canada and Ukraine, to expand the scope of the study of the bill in order to support expanded munitions production in Canada and increasing munition exports to Ukraine, and support the development of weapons and munitions manufacturing capabilities in Ukraine by the Canadian industry. Mr. Seaback has asked for a recorded vote. Madam Chair.
Mr. Arya. Ms. Fortier.
No.
Mr. Miao. Mr. Sidhu, Brampton East.
No.
Ms. Sidhu, Brampton South.
No.
Mr. Baldinelli. Mr. Genuis.
Yes.
Monsieur Martel.
Oui.
Mr. Seaback. Mr.
Thank you very much. The motion does not pass.